right, what's going on, everyone? Jared Cattoor here from Kung Fu Music Lessons. Today, I'm super excited to be interviewing an incredible musician from here in St. Louis, Mr. Ryan Marquez. How's it going, Ryan?
What's up, Jared? Dude, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I'm so excited to be sharing this with the St. Louis community and with the rest of the globe. Ryan is an outstanding musician, incredible musical leader, creative person. The main topics of I would like to discuss today is just about being a creative, original career musician and what we're doing with that. Because Ryan has been writing and releasing tons of music, and he's an amazing example of a creative person who's really doing it and creating. So that's very exciting. So before we get into some of that deep stuff, though, I just want to start out with the basics. And I just want to know, Ryan, what is your musical story? Can you just tell us, when did you start playing? Kind of in a nutshell, give us the skinny from all the way up until now.
Yeah, for sure. Basically, I always tell people that I didn't pick music, music picked me. And it's like something I've always done and something that's always come to me as a pursuit or as an interest or a passion. I remember from an early age, just I don't even remember. My mom just tells me stories about how some of the first words I said were, I want to learn to play piano. And I would just kind of bother her a lot as soon as I could talk, and I could talk from a really early age. And I would just ask I want to play music. I want to be on the stage. And she said I would always just say, I want to play on the stage for all the people. And she said one day a man came to our church and played solo piano music for a concert. And she said that in the middle of the concert, I looked dead at her and was like, I want to do that. When I grow up, I want to play on the stage for all the people. So it's music is just really all I've ever known. I got my first piano from my grandmother on my dad's side when I was 5. It was just a Fisher Price piano. And I have a lot of fun memories just sitting in front of the TV, watching Sesame Street or Mr. Rogers, and legit trying to figure out what the melody was. And I remember one time I was playing, and I think my mom was in the other room, and she came in all fast, and she was like, was that you, or was that the computer? And I was like, I did that. And she was like, do it again. And I was playing nursery rhyme songs. And the first song that I ever really, really wanted to learn when I was a kid was the Sesame Street theme song. So I have fond memories of just trying to figure that out. So on this Fisher Price keyboard, and then I finally got to a place where, being a young musician sometimes can be difficult to get connected with the right mentor, because a lot of people are hesitant to, try to teach somebody who's 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. But eventually, by the time that I got to 5th or 6th grade, because I got told no a couple times by piano teachers that my parents approached. But actually, I finally got connected with a piano teacher through by chance. I was at my cousin's baseball game, and I just was under the bleachers, and I heard this woman was talking about hey, I give piano lessons or whatever. And as soon as I heard that, I ran from around the bleachers, ran right up to her and was like, hey, could you teach me how to play piano lessons? And so it's been a self-initiated journey that I don't really remember where it started or where it came from, other than I've just been given that as my life path. And so I'm following that. I've took years of lessons in piano, private lessons, many great teachers, legendary Joe Michelon in Kansas City taught me a lot of everything I know, as well as Eddie Oyer in Kansas City. These are legendary dudes who generated bodies of work, handwritten and self-generated. And I never got anything from another book. Everything I got was from what they'd amassed and written out. And now as a adult, I'm going back through all their stuff, because they both passed on now. So I'm the Aristotle to their Socrates. It's like my job to organize and direct. But you know, played in jazz band, high school bands, a lot of bands in the adolescence. Got to Louis Armstrong High School Jazz Award. You know, did the All-State thing, and came to St. Louis to study with the great Carol Beth True at Western University with Mike Parkinson, Paul Marinus, Kim Portnoy, Willem van Ambrecht. Learned a bunch there. Also, the great master Willie Aikens was very influential in my life. I got to play in his band for 2 years when I was really young. Kicked my butt, super good. Learning tunes and throwing me curveballs like, okay, you called that tune last week. Now we're gonna play it a half step up, you know, or like a fourth away. So it's all I do. It's my first love. I trade anything for it, sacrifice everything for it. I'm like seriously. So that's you know, that's my story in a nutshell. Only addendum to that is that when I was starting, a lot of people don't know this. I'm giving you an exclusive here because you're my bro. So when I was born with this condition that is like really unique. Like there's like, it's like less than like 1% of the population has this, maybe even 0.5%. But it's like the thing about my hands is it's hereditary, and it's this I have this condition in which my hands like mirror each other, like involuntary when them. So they're like in like neurologically. So when I was a kid, the first few piano teachers, or a couple of piano teachers that we approached, said that I like the first person that my parents had said I would never be able to play piano because it wouldn't be possible for me to do the independent skills necessary that it takes, you know, to play piano. But you know, that's like, I think a lot of times it's like, I'll put it like this. I used to think that was a curse, you know what I'm saying? Because I was like, I gotta work, you know, 10 times harder at it to get it to work. And it used to be really frustrating, and a lot of tears and a lot of, you know, why me, why, you know. But when I was in high school, one of my mentors, he was like, he put it in perspective for me because I was telling him about it. And he was like, you know, Ryan, if you didn't have that thing, knowing your personality, you might not even want to play piano because it might not have been challenging enough for you. And you might not even play piano. So maybe you got that because that was the one thing that was like the universe told you no. And you were like, oh yeah, to hell with that, you know? So it's like, I don't know. Music is just, that's it, dude. That's all I do. That's all I know. I'm all in. I got nothing else.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's an amazing story, man. What about so once you moved here, you went to Webster, and then you played with a bunch of bands. Like, what all happened with that? You know, what's the scene that you mostly played in and here in
Oh,
St.
yeah.
Louis?
Oh man, band scene here, it has been so fun, and as you know, has evolved a lot through, I think I'm going on 16 or 17 years now living here in St. Louis. So when I first rolled in, you know, I was fresh. I didn't know anybody. I had one friend from Kansas City who had moved here the year before me, and we had a band in Kansas City called Forte. His name's Tim Siski, played saxophone, and so we both went to Webster. So I at least kind of knew like a few people here and there through him and the upperclassmen at the school. But really, I just kind of, you know, within proximity, I met a lot of cool people at Webster when I was there. You know, Nick Savage was there, Drew Mantilla was there, Kevin Kaler was there, Ryan Haas was there, Gavin Duffy was there. You know what I'm saying? It was like a lot of really killing cats. You know, Phil Graves was there when I was there, Kevin Nair was there, Andrew Marimani was there, Pete Ayers, Lola Christine. You know, Paige Alyssa didn't come too much later after that. Matt McKeever was there when I was there, Charlie Serpa, Mike Morano. You know, there was a lot of really killing cats. they came through right around the time that I came through. And so I was like blessed to just be kind of put in a situation where I remember it was the first day of auditions for Webster, and I had just back in the day the annex, everyone would crowd up on the door while people were doing auditions and try to like listen to other people's auditions, to see who was in the class, who could play. We were all like freshmen and first years. So we were getting like placed, in our ensembles or in classes or whatever, assessed. So I remember after my assessment, I walked out of the door, and the first person that came up to me super fast was Nick Savage. And he was just like, bro, dude, like, hey man, like, we should play together. I play drums, blah, blah, blah. The next thing I know, we're best buds in a band. We started this band called, well, eventually it got the name Omerta, but it started, we linked up with Tim, and then Gavin Duffy played bass in it, and then this killing guitar player named Ryan Haas, who I think is out in Nashville now, toured all over playing country A-list tours. But the five of us, we made up the house band at the Del Mar Lounge, which is now Mission Taco here in St. Louis in the Loop. And we played there every Friday and Saturday from like 7 o'clock to midnight for 2 years. So like that was my kind of like first into the scene with those guys. And that weekly gig produced a lot of network, people coming in. Like I remember Montu, when he was like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, he was just like a little bitty dude with a guitar on his back. He couldn't even get in the club. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, I remember like a lot of people, DJs, because the DJs would DJ from, 12 to 3, I'm Stan the Man, DJ Crucial, DJ Cinnamon, you know what I'm saying? Just like so many great people were like, creative people were just hubbed into this place called the Del Mar Lounge. It was an epicenter kind of for like art, culture, and a little bit of trouble, So it was like, I did that stuff. That was kind of the foundation. And Omerta spawned into 2 bands when we kind of decided to, evolve into different directions. So we, me and Nick and Tim, we started Fresh Air, and Gavin joined up with his longtime buddies who just moved back to St. Louis at the time, Ken Deweese, Nate Carpenter, John Carpenter, Mike Whalen, and they formed Messy Jiverson. So it was like out of this band, 2 pretty cool bands that were prominent, at that time in the kind of the jam band community. We were and still are all good buds. And that Fresh Air. So Fresh Air for me was like kind of my first band here in St. Louis. I played keyboard, bass, keyboards. I still play in it. Now we've evolved kind of from a jam band to more of a vocal pop band. And we're actually working on a new record that we've been writing for and getting done, kind of spawned through the Renaissance. And there'll be more coming out from us this year. But then the energy of Fresh Air, we've been a band for about 15 years now. So, as it does with music, you kind of grow and you make new relationships, and the energy kind of has a way of permeating, and you go through seasons where you may be intense into something and then maybe into something else. And I remember Mike Moreno and Charlie Serpa, they would always come to the Fresh Air shows. They were like 2 of our biggest supporters at the time. And it just came around, we all went to Webster, and, we jammed here and there. And then it came to where like I needed some roommates, and it just aligned for the 3 of us. And so we all moved in together, and then that kind of jam energy, soul jazz kind of vibes, KDHX, Rhythm Section Roadshow, kind of in that scene that Andy Coco has fostered and built, along with guys like Nate Hershey or Dave Grally, they have really just like, the People's Key, I should say, really spawned out of that whole scene and that whole movement, that whole sound, which is Fresh Air was there for a season, but then we kind of evolved into this other thing that's, more pop kind of vibes, like Two Cities, One World kind of vibes, so the People's Key is my thing still. We put out 5 records or so, and it's a soul jazz organ group. We flip covers, like pop tunes from the 50s and on, mainly newer stuff and stuff that a lot of people wouldn't touch or haven't touched. And then from there, I started doing. I've always been best buds with Drew Mantia back from college, and so we started doing this, which is just the two of us, and we're like pop EDM dance kind of feel good vibes. We just put out a record in 2020 called Celebrate. We were campaigning to put out a new single on March 11th, 311. The Believe Cycle's got a whole new campaign stuff coming up. And Drew and I have, also been working on sync licensing, just like getting our music placed in commercial placements. And, we've been successful a couple times now in doing that. And we're continuing to try to work our way into that lifestyle and into that game. And so that's like, my main projects, outside of the fact that like when at the end of the day, like what I do also is like I have my trio. It's like a jazz thing, where I maybe will pull a Tim Moore or Nick Savage, Bob Naboo, or Ben Wheeler, or Theo Hart and Bernard Terry. Pull together like a trio and do, some of my original music that's instrumental jazz, or pull in a saxophone player, do a trio featuring, like Kendrick Smith or Carlos Brown Jr. or Lamar Harris or somebody, Don Weber. But then I also just put out a project called Seek Unity, which is the thing that I've been growing towards is like, okay, so I do all these bands, all these projects and stuff. Like now I'm focused on just, hey, what's Ryan Marquez do? You know what I'm saying? Like, who's that guy, the artist? So I put out this collaborative project called Say Unity, which features 20 creatives here in St. Louis. It's a female vocal-driven album that spotlights kind of the narrative of, perseverance and hope and light and dark, growth and rebirth through, understanding the nature of transcendental self. And it's basically like it was produced by Carl Napa, who's the man here in St. Louis and beyond, much more beyond. But currently, right now, he's holding it down at the St. Louis Recording Club, and through Lotan Records with Lenny Mink, who's been throwing it down on the visual presentations. We just put out a video with Lola Christine called Fountain of Youth that you can check out on YouTube. So it's like that's kind of. I just did a concert with a 14-piece band, and now, Jared, that I finally have done that, I'm addicted to that, and that's kind of like what I want to do. I want to be me, and if I can get 14 people on a plane and go around the world, like, let's go.
Yes. Well, that's awesome.
In a nutshell.
I know, as much as it can be, but it's good to have that. Everybody loves to hear the musical story of their, heroes and artists. So thank you for sharing that.